Hello and welcome to another V for Life Chef Chat. Today we're going to be talking about going vegan. So this can be a really rewarding and transformative experience, but of course it usually comes with a bit of a learning curve. So we're here to sort of offer you some tips and talk about our own experiences, which may help you along the way. Perhaps you're new, you're going vegan for Veganuary. Or perhaps you're a seasoned pro and you're just learning about others' experiences. Anyway, we're going to start to have a little chat and answer some questions. We've got a few questions that have come in. So the first one is about people's reactions, how to deal with jokes, cajoling, a bit of bullying even, you know, all these things. Probably not so much these days, which we'll get onto later, how veganism's changed. But certainly a few years ago, when most of us went vegan, might have been an issue. So Alex, how was your experience when you first went vegan?
I'd say on the whole it was positive. It was positive for me, but as from reaction, I remember my mum being upset. And she swore, I won't say the word, because it was I was veggie and then I was vegan, and it was just like, oh, that was just one step too far. But I was living away at that time, so it didn't really impact too much on her. But it was visiting, and obviously, if she did some catering, then she'd have to learn more about vegan food. But yeah, initially from my mum anyway, there was a sort of oh no, what have you done?
Yeah, I think the same with me. I went vegetarian then vegan, but yeah, and I don't think that's the same these days. I think lots of people just go vegan. I think there's more information out there and more support. But again, we'll come on to that. Claire, what about your?
Yeah, so I was very late to trying vegan. It was a couple of Veganuaries that I did, but I was vegetarian originally, and the same. I think coming from my family, particularly my grandparents, they would make Sunday dinner, and it was a traditional Sunday roast. So they were like, "Oh my goodness, what are you going to eat?" But I was quite an indie kid, quite a rock chick, so I was quite alternative, or I thought I was alternative. And I think they thought that my dietary choices were just going to be a phase, that it was just like a band that I was following. They didn't actually realise that it was going to be something that I would be doing for the rest of my life. But as you say, there's so much more support available now, and it's becoming more and more mainstream. And I think looking at the work that the supermarkets have done with our plant-based branding, that there's so many available products, particularly like Tesco's and Marks and Spencer's really leading that change, that there's so much more products and information available. So if older generation are going to the supermarket, they'll see those products on the shelf and it's in their mind, whereas when I first stopped eating meat, my family really didn't know where to turn to. So there's the Veganuary campaign has definitely made it much more easy and accessible for people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really. Like, it used to be an alternative thing for me as well. And yeah, now you've got more fashionable people. It's very on trend, isn't it, to be vegan? And yeah, I mean, that's good in every way, really. Justina, what about you?
Well, since I'm from Eastern European background, my parents were not a huge fan when I said I'm not gonna eat meat anymore, and they were quite shocked. But what I found helped is explaining how much sort of experience you have or what knowledge you hold, because sometimes people can be a bit sheltered and not quite open-minded for such things because it's not just relevant for them. So when I explained that, look, you can get proteins from different sources, and I'm not gonna starve. They thought I was gonna nibble on leaves and be all really sad and ditch food altogether. So I think there's just a bit of comfort. I think when people sort of judge you, especially your family, I think just because they love you and they worry about you, and I think it's just that reassurance that you know what you're doing and not just making this a big deal out of nowhere. So yeah, that's me.
That's really good. So from those difficult starts, did you ever think that life was going to get easier as the world sort of changed and more people became vegan and food was more available, more restaurants, more options, and better food labeling as well? Claire, What did you think?
Oh yes, as I was saying that, I think that I believe it was Tesco and Marks and Spencer's that really coined the phrase plant-based, and I think that kind of broke down barriers, because I think some people they're maybe scared of veganism, or they don't understand it, or it's an easy target to be the brunt of jokes. But what I found from my own experience was that what was quite shocking to me was the criticism that you got from other vegans for not being vegan enough. And it's like everybody's on a different stage in their journey, and everybody makes their food choices for their own reasons. So as a community, we should be supporting each other, not trying to bring each other down. And I think that the plant-based term has made it so much more acceptable now. And as you were saying, it's quite trendy and fashionable, so that if you're saying to people, oh, can we go to this restaurant that I've seen online, or I hear this plant-based place is absolutely amazing. But I think that so many things have become completely mainstream now, whereas when I was first vegetarian, it was soy mince was the only meat alternative that you could get, and then you had like Linda McCartney and Quorn being the kind of trailblazers for meat alternatives. But then you look at the shelf space that's available now, it's absolutely phenomenal, where there's like tofu and tempeh and alternatives for things like sausages and bacon seem to be the norm. But part of that for myself is maybe considering, well, are we moving away from a whole food, healthy, balanced diet? So I think that these type of products definitely do have a place in diet, particularly if you're looking to try to get meat consumers to reduce their meat consumption. It's a great alternative. And I think it's just about taking everything as part of a healthy, balanced diet. But it's absolutely fantastic what chefs out in restaurants and supermarkets are doing. And you can go everywhere now and get a meat alternative burger if you're out in a bar, where it used to be a very, very sad lentil burger. So things have, excuse me, things have come on a long way.
Yeah, we've got so many restaurants around me. It's incredible. And even restaurants that aren't vegan always advertise their vegan options, whereas it'd be sort of down the bottom of a menu, if at all, in years ago. Is that similar to you, Alex? You've got lots of restaurants around you?
Yeah, there's loads, but sort of back in the day, as it were, it was a lot harder, and I wouldn't have imagined that it really would have caught on as much as it has done, should I say. It really is quite a sea change in what you can buy, as Claire was saying, but also restaurants. And I didn't think it was going to become this widespread. So it's lovely, it really is, that this is catching on. And I'm in South Manchester, and there's loads of restaurants and cafes about the place, and they all do something that's that's acceptable. So I didn't think it was going to get as popular as it did, and we kind of maybe thought it might have been in our hearts, but really, actually, reality, I didn't think it was going to get this popular. So it's wonderful that it has done. Yeah,
that's right. Even like when I go to pretty much any cafe these days, they'll ask, when I ask for a coffee, they'll say, "Oh, do you want cow milk or oat?" Or you never used to get that. You had to specifically ask for it, and then perhaps they had it or not, and it might be soy. But now there's loads of options, loads of milk options. Justina, what about you?
So I think it's one of those things, I like trying new foods, and obviously Veganuary is the time where all the new products just go in the market and you just pick out different things. But it doesn't help that obviously if you're trying to eat healthy, as Claire said, whole meal foods, or perhaps you're avoiding meat replacements altogether, it's quite hard to find those foods without too many additives such as salt and fat, because obviously they're made to taste amazing. And obviously if you're trying to find ready-made meals without any meat replacements, that would be a challenge for you guys if you want to go to your local supermarkets and find a ready-made meal without any replacements, and see how hard it is, because a lot of things now really focusing that veggie foods should be all replacements. So keep your obviously eyes out for something with just a bit of a greener scale on that labeling side of things.
Yeah, definitely. That kind of leads us on to our next question as well. which is about nutrition, thinking about nutrition when you first went vegan. Something I certainly didn't think about. I was just thinking about that it was all an ethical choice, really. I think I survived on Linda McCartney pies and soy mints and stuff like that. So yeah, but now I know protein's not hard to get. You know, we can get it from sources, tofu and beans and legumes and all sorts of things. And B12 is something we perhaps want to supplement with because that's more of an animal sourced vitamin. But omegas we can get from seeds, linseeds and all sorts of things, chia seeds. But yeah, any of you think about nutrition when you first went vegan or not at all?
I didn't. I must admit, I didn't. The reason was to do with animal ethics for me, and I didn't think about it. And then I did eventually, because you're kind of looking at your plate and it's sort of full of veg. But in some ways, sort of like kind of coming back to the points you were making about the process stuff, which I do enjoy, I must admit, but that wasn't available in such the scale it is now. So it was a lot more whole foods. Obviously, you can still buy the whole foods now if you're into cooking and you don't mind doing that, which I'm a chef, so we're all chefs, you know. So hopefully we still enjoy doing that. But no, I didn't think about nutrition at the start. I have done subsequently, but not at the start. No.
Yeah. Justina, what about you?
So when I went to university, they have covered vegetarian and vegan diets in one of the lessons. Not joking, out of 4 years, there was one lesson about it. And obviously that sort of opened my eyes what it's all about, but they just briefly mentioned proteins. And now just later down the line, looking into a bit of more research into it, learned about combining different foods to get all the essential amino acids into your diet, which is not as easy as you might think, just gonna switch and go for it. And obviously from there you start to look into things. So when you go to a restaurant, you say, okay, we have a couple of options, and one of them is potato pie and the other one is chickpea curry. Which one you gonna go with? So it's just one of those things, like as we mentioned, there's more options, but we really need to sort of assess what's in the food we're putting in ourselves.
Yeah, chickpea curry, I think.
Yes.
Claire, what about you?
Yeah, I was so naive. I didn't look at anything at all nutrition-wise, and I really wish I'd known at the time. Like my diet, I must have been so unhealthy that I just completely dropped food groups from my diet. And if you think back, when I was younger, the Eat Well plate was at the forefront of health messages. And it was as long as you were getting your 5 a day, you felt that you were healthy, and you didn't realise the importance of getting a completely balanced nutritional intake. And I think it's more involved than really. I'd say that a lot of social media and a lot of things like YouTube, there's more and more discussions now raising awareness of what a healthy, balanced diet is. But I think that probably for years I was just like. A dinner for me would be like a tomato pasta, and like completely lacking loads of nutrients from my diet. So I had to look at supplementation, and really when I studied nutrition, I had that light bulb moment, and then really gave my whole diet a complete overhaul. So it is really, I think particularly for young people, that if they're looking at making changes, it's realising that, well, no, you can't just cut something out, that you have to have an alternative and replace that in your diet to make sure it's completely balanced.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got loads of recipes on our website for balanced meals, nutritious, fulfilling meals as well, of course. Yeah, it's important to remember you can be vegan and just eat crisps and biscuits all day. But with that in mind...
Now you're telling me.
With that in mind, are there any cupboard essentials for someone who's new to veganism before they start? Sorry, Claire.
I would say definitely stock up on different proteins to find out what you like and experiment with them. I was really late trying tempeh, and I absolutely love it. I'm a bit hit or miss with tofu. Sometimes it's more successful than others, and I think it's just taking time to prepare it properly and making sure that you've got a brand that you like. what I've discovered recently is certain brands maybe work a bit better for one application, and another brand might be better for oven baking, where another brand might be better for deep frying. So it's experimenting, and I would say that have a good stock of spices and herbs in your cupboard, and just pick a country that you like the type of food from, and then experiment. And again, that I think people think, oh, you're just going to be eating salad and tofu, but that's absolutely not the case at all. And make your plate nice and colourful. So I would say that a well-stocked spice cupboard is something that I would really recommend to start off with.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's great. You can just do so many things, can't you?
Yeah.
Also, that's great for reducing salt as well. Just add in a bit of some spice or different herbs. My suggestion would be nuts and seeds. I eat loads of nuts and seeds, and they're just full of different vitamins and essential fats and things. So yeah, and you can do so many things. You can make once you get into veganism more, you can make your own milks instead of buying them on the shelf. And just over the top of your breakfast, all those sort of things. Justina, what about you? What would be in your cupboard?
Well, now sort of my new favorite one is tinned lentils. So you get them already cooked, they're in the tins or in Tetra packs, and it's just amazing, especially if you're on the go. You want your food ready now. So if you can make a pasta sauce and put your lentils in there, or you can even put it on top of a salad. So you can warm it up or have it cold, like as you please. It saves a bit of extra time and have those lovely nutrients in there. So it's just my tip, just to have that. And when you're just hungry right now, it's just really nice and quick to prepare a nutritious meal.
Nice. And nutritional yeast, that's just popped into my head as well. Really good. Really, if you don't know about it. So yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and you can just add so much flavor, and you can do so much with it, and it's really nutritious as well. Okay, Alex, what about you? What would be
I was going to say exactly the same thing as Justina, to be honest, which was tinned lentils, but tinned pulses, tinned beans, generally, because as you were saying, Justina, they're so quick and easy, and you can add them into just about everything and anything, from hot dishes to cold dishes. Make little pates out of them, use them for fillings, for pastries and all sorts of savoury pastries and pies, all sorts of things. So it would be tinned pulses, but also dried ones as well. They do take, dried red lentils can be cooked straight away with 15 minutes or so, but the ones that you need to soak, just if you just remember to put them in a bit of water the night before, and away you go. So that's kind of the same as Justina's answer, but so I'm going to give a supplement to this to say is a load of veg that's ready to go. So you've got peppers and celery and tomatoes and potatoes, sweet potatoes. You've got a whole selection of healthy stuff that you can cook really quickly. If you've got an air fryer or a microwave, you can warm it up, or you can make stews and stuff like that. But you've got that in, so you've got that healthy go-to whole food stuff. So lots of healthy veg ready to use. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, we touched on the subject briefly, but this is something that's probably going to interest a new vegan in particular. But what meat and dairy replacements and alternatives are out there, and what sort of pros and cons can you say about them? Which ones would you like to avoid? Or, probably shouldn't name too many brands, but is this something you use, Alex?
Yeah, I use lots of sort of alternatives. Definitely plant-based milk is one that I have all the time, and I either go for oat or soya. I'm not so keen on some of the others, but those work well in coffee and tea. The soya can curdle a bit, that's why I have oats for coffee, but it's great on cereals and making milkshakes and stuff, or plant-based milkshakes and stuff. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that, but some of the plant-based milks I'm not that keen on. Rice milk doesn't do it for me, but horses for courses. Choose, if you're new to it, have a look and see what you like. You'll find a use for it if you don't like it that much. It's £1, maybe £1.50 that you spend, and you discover something that you like. But on the creams, there's all sorts now. And when I first went, there just was, I think there was one brand that you could get in a Jewish deli, and it was I think it was called Rick's whippable cream or something like that, which just was not in any sort of supermarket. You'd really have to hunt it out. But now you can get whippable cream with it's made from soya, and also get it made from oats, and that's definitely worth. If you like that sort of stuff, then give those a try.
Yeah, rice milk can be quite sweet, can't it? But really good in certain desserts and things. I love oat milk in coffee. I like, there's a brand called Plenish, which is my favorite at the moment, and it's organic. It's 3 ingredients. Yeah, that's definitely be in my fridge most of the time. Justina, what about you?
So it's hard to say. Like, I have silken tofu, and can you call it a replacement? Because it can be made into like scrambled tofu, if that's what you like. But also you could be made into desserts quite easily, like chocolate pudding recipe we have on the website. And there's loads of different things it could be replacing for, but it's not quite labeled as this is a replacement, and doesn't sit with the rest of the replacements in the fridge. So it's just one of those things that you have to look out for. And as Alex said, it's really much of a preference of taste thing. So there's different tofus you can use, and it barely has any additives. That means you have to add the flavor. As most of us mentioned, seasonings and spices and just simple things you can add just to lift up the flavors and enjoy it much more. So don't expect that some of the dishes you will be preparing, they will be just instantly best, because obviously looking into meat replacements or even dairy replacements, there will be those additives to make them taste better. So perhaps higher fat content, higher salt content, just so you want to come back for it again. So if that's what you're trying perhaps for a change, go for it. But perhaps this is not a long-term solution.
Yeah, wise words. I think that the vegan market is flooded with processed food. So yeah, which is great, in moderation and when you're transitioning. But yeah, perhaps not. Yeah, in the long term, definitely. Claire, what about any products you recommend? Any dairy?
Something that I've been using for years and years is veggie mints. So I used to use corn mints lots, but I've been experimenting through looking at cutting costs and budgeting, and looking at some of the supermarket own brand mints products, and they're absolutely fantastic. Lots of times they're on special offer, that they're maybe like 2 bags for £5, and all the supermarkets have their own versions. So I live in Scotland, and the weather's really, really cold at the moment. So making hearty evening meals, so things like spaghetti bolognese, chili non carne, a shepherd's pie, or a lasagna. These veggie minces are absolutely fantastic. And if you buy the frozen ones, they are so much cheaper than the chilled ones as well. And you can stock up on them when they're on special offer. And you can make your dishes. And the couple of recipes that are on our website for the spaghetti bolognese and the chili, you can batch cook them and then split them down into 2 separate meals. So it's a really efficient way of cooking, and really, really budget friendly. So I would say that's definitely, particularly in the winter time. But as Justina and Alex were saying, canned pulses are great. So both of those recipes, if you've only got a small amount of your veggie mints left, you can supplement that along with some dried pulses, or you can use your canned or pouched pulses as well, and they marry really, really well together in recipes. So I've been eating the veggie mints for years, and it's definitely a staple in my store cupboard and freezer.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and those recipes are all available on our website as well. The shepherd's pie, the chili non carne, and delicious, tried and tested. Question, this is really, really, really important. I think a lot of people are going to worry about this one. How do we cook vegan cakes and bakes? Alex, you're the cake pro, I think, around.
No, not at all. It's funny because I was thinking about this, because obviously I knew we were going to be meeting to chat, and when I first dropped all eggs and stuff, which are commonly used in cakes, like, I'm not going to be able to have any cakes. and was sort of, I was a bit sad really, because but then from a nutritional perspective, you're dropping fat, you're dropping white flour, you're dropping a lot of sugar. It's not such a bad thing not to have these things, but you can make them, and I've learned to make them since. One of the greatest tips I heard, it's not mine, was sifting flour twice to get lots of air into your cakes. But you can buy No Egg, which is a brand that's a supplement. Eggs for cakes, and that helps it the cake rise and gives it shape. But you can also use chickpea water. There's a lot of chat about using that when you drain the tin from chickpeas, use the chickpeas in a curry or whatever you're doing, and then whip that until you get a nice foam, and then using that, and that helps to give structure. But also using things like banana. That can help to sort of stabilize cakes, but some I think work better than others. You can make lovely sponges, and we've got a couple of recipes I think on our website. It's definitely worth trying. But I actually like cakes that have got a bit more substance to them, like the fruit cake. We've got a couple of recipes on there. There's one that's a rich fruit cake. It is a it is a kind of, I guess it's a Christmas recipe, but only if you've got icing on it. But it's a lovely, lovely cake. We've also got a sticky toffee pudding. Now I know I've mentioned the sticky toffee pudding before, but it is really lovely, and it's so easy. And it doesn't really have any alternatives. It just works as it is. So you don't need to buy anything particularly special for those. But yeah, practice. Practice and try. And enjoy the exploration.
Yeah, of course, we've got a guide, vegan baking guide as well, that you can download on the website, or we can send you one as well, where there's a whole area that talks about replacements and where they're best used. Silken tofu, for example, great in flans and cheesecakes and things like that as well. Justina, what's your tips for baking and cakes?
Follow the recipe. For those who are impatient and you think, oh, suddenly I'm going to be great at baking. But if you feel like you're a bit antsy today, or you really would like to be eating the cake and you can't be bothered to weigh ingredients out, don't bake today. It's really, really important to make sure that you really follow the recipe through. And if it says you whip your aquafaba for 10 minutes, you stand there with your mixer and you whip it for those full 10 minutes, because otherwise it's just not going to work. So don't cut the corners. Make sure you have the time dedicated for baking. You make sure your oven is nice and hot, and you make sure you follow through the steps and practice. As Alex said, you just got to try it and try again. And sometimes perhaps it's a bit too cold, there's a bit too much moisture in the air, and your bake is not going to turn out as you expected. But you try it next week and it's going to be perfect.
That's right. I made 2 cakes one day after the other, exactly the same. They turned out completely different. Pumpkin bread. One was beautiful and light, the other was stodgy and sunken. I don't know why. Who knows? Claire, what are your tips for baking?
Yeah, so we were chatting there about using aquafaba. So I'd say my best tip for that is put in a small amount of tartaric acid powder. Get that in most supermarkets next to your baking soda and bicarb, and that'll help stabilise the aquafaba when you whip it up, and it'll whip up quicker as well. Because as Justina was saying, like standing over your mixer for 10 minutes seems like a long time. So the tartaric acid definitely helps that, and it stabilises it more. But as soon as you're thinking, I'm going to go and make a cake, put your oven on right away. The longer your oven's up to temperature, it'll have a good even heat distribution, and then you'll get that initial rise, and then your cake will hopefully stay risen and then not collapse down. But I'd say experiment with different egg alternatives to see what you like taste wise. I really like using flax egg, but some people don't like that seed distribution through a sponge, so that lends itself well to cakes that have maybe got nuts or chocolate chips and other things through it, so it's distributed through. And as Justina was saying, experiment and have fun with it. And like yourself, Ollie, I had made a couple of Victoria sponges. It was going to be a a triple layer cake, and the first two were absolutely beautiful. The third one was not so beautiful, and I don't know why. So something that my gran taught me when I was just baking standard cakes, which you can transfer over to vegan baking, is people that have and chefs that have developed recipes and bakers that have put time and effort in, the recipes are for the size of cake tin that's in the recipe. So if it calls for an 8-inch tin, don't try and fit it into a 6-inch tin because it'll overflow, and then vice versa. If it's 7-inch and you put it in a 9-inch, you're going to end up with a flat cake. So really pay attention to what size of tin and what temperature you're baking at as well. But everybody's oven's different as well, so it's just having fun with it and experimenting. And something that I recently discovered, this is not my own tip, so I can't take credit for you, and both myself and Alex have tried and tested this. You know, sometimes if you make cupcakes or muffins, the bottom of the case when you take it out can go a little bit oily, not too nice when you're trying to present a pretty muffin. If you sprinkle a couple of grains of rice, dry rice, in the bottom of your muffin tin, and then put your muffins in, that rice absorbs any leakage of the oil, and you don't have a greasy base on the bottom of your muffin, and it works perfectly. So I'll definitely be using that going forward in all my bakes.
Great.
I've got to just jump in there because Claire gave me that tip a week ago, and I was baking some mincemeat muffins, and it really did help. Really worked. So yeah, I should be, from now on, I should be doing that. So thank you, Claire, for that tip. That was really useful.
Nice. Well, we're nearly out of time. Is there any sort of last minute tips or advice that you want to justina add? Anything you've been dying to say, Justina? Oh, thanks.
No. After you, Justina. I'm jumping in. Getting excited. After you.
Alex, join.
Okay, yeah. So it's a journey, and you'll discover things that are that you like, and discover things that you don't like, and just relax with it. Some family members might be a bit awkward, some of your friends might be a bit awkward about it, but just relax and enjoy the journey. If you're going to visit someone and they're going to be catering, speak to them to tell them what your preferences are, because they might be anxious about cooking something vegan, or they're not sure, and they might make you something that, even though it's it's plant-based, you just don't like, and so you're in an awkward situation of eating something that someone's lovingly prepared, but you don't like spice. So it'd be a shame. But if you just give them a call beforehand and reassure them, and obviously thank them, it's kind of good manners.
Yeah, definitely. I think we lost Justina. I think all that talk of cake, she's had to run. Claire, any last tips? We've got just a minute.
I was thinking, if you're completely new to vegan diet, head to our website and look at all the amazing publications. Have a read at the blog stories where people have shared their experiences. And again, if you've got any questions, you can contact the team. So the publications are free to download, and we've got a huge database full of tried and tested recipes. And a lot of the recipes are the chef's team's favourites that are really fun family favourites. And I would say as well, cook for your friends as well. So if you've got friends and family that aren't familiar with a vegan diet, let them try things that you've been cooking yourself. And I'd just say, finally, eat the processed foods in moderation, because they're very, very high in salt and fat. So just keep an eye on them and just check the labels.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's okay to make mistakes as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We didn't cover label reading. That's something we wanted to cover. There's loads of questions we didn't want to cover. But yeah, it's okay to make mistakes. You might eat something, oh no, but you're on a journey, and you're going in the right direction, hopefully. Justina, anything quick you wanted to add? Just
have fun, really. It's just one of those things that we always want to do what's best, and obviously don't get disheartened if someone says that perhaps your choices are not the best choices, why you chose this way of living, but obviously have your backup. Make sure you have good knowledge about what you're about to do, and show your knowledge for your friends and family, and just reassure them that everything will be fine. And as far as you follow our tips, I'm sure you'll be fine.
Brilliant. All right, thanks for joining us. We'll be back soon with some other exciting topics on vegan eating. So bye for now.